Welcome everyone, and happy summer solstice 2020. Beautiful sunshiny day, the longest day of the year, which is celebrating Ra, the sun, the great sun. Without our star, we wouldn't be much now, would we? So yes, a celebration of the great universe all together. The sun, the moon, the stars, the air, the water, gosh, everything, life itself, to life forever and ever, so be it. I've always thought of summer solstice as being a time when we're expressing our most inner self into the outer self, so to speak, and sharing our innermost thoughts with each other. And it's a time for reflection on clarifying what our innermost thoughts are and what our values are. And with this COVID-19, we're all reflecting on what the values are. And it's a beautiful, I think, cleansing of the planet. We've cleansed our air with all these airplanes. We've cleansed our meeting places. We've learned to work on screens instead of with each other. And somehow, it's been a blessing somehow. I was listening to news that people are going through a lot of mental stress and problems, and suicide is on the way up and all that. And I thought, wait a second, this is more of a time when we could open up and be refreshed and welcome the opportunity to have our own thoughts and go within and not be so busy. It's kind of a nice blessing to not be so busy. Think of it maybe in that way. And I like to feel like we are one with nature. It's very urgent, I would say, at this time that we all of humanity, comes to our sense of knowingness with a capital K. This knowingness is what the animals have. They all know when to gather the nuts for the winter. They know when the wind is starting to blow. There could be a storm coming. We're sitting in our air-conditioned rooms and in our, condos in the sky. We're cut off from nature, and this is where we need to come back. In my opinion, is the more we're close to the vibrations and the feeling of nature. I call it the field, and I write about the field in this book. The field is a connection between us and everything. The ancient civilizations called it Dene, where they knew that the ancestors were actually the fish coming up to lay their eggs, that they were one with those ancestors, and that the ancestors live in the fire. Here we are in the sacred Kukuli, which is the earth house that the people of the First Nations here in the Okanagan Valley and throughout North America and all the world actually celebrate the sacred fire. And here at Summerhill, we've been very blessed and honored to be allowed to build such a structure and to have the sacred fire, which for thousands of years has been the center of all of, how would you say, all of the deepest thoughts that are within us, which is that we communicate with those beyond the sun, and we communicate with those that do not have bodies anymore. We call them the grandmothers and the grandfathers. And it all kind of merges together. Is us here in bodies versus us who no longer have bodies, but we all have each other in that wonderful way, which I call loving universal consciousness. It's all part of that consciousness. Anyway, that could be a little heady to understand right away, but I do explain it a lot in this book. I'm not trying to sell the book, but I do feel that a lot of information is in here that can help humanity in a beautiful way, especially at this time when we are looking for ways to express our gratitude for life and our gratitude for the universe and our gratitude for having bodies. Gratitude is a huge word and a wonderful word. Gratitude and forgiveness, patience. There's lots of wonderful things that we humans have in our language. Wonderful words, I should say. But let me just read a couple of little things that I at random pulled out. We are here to merge with unlimited creation and with the nurturing of our earth. We are ready to unite in gatherings where we create an energy conducive to catapulting our realization and co-create our rejuvenation, peace, harmony, abundance, and bliss. These universal truths and the knowingness, capital K, that surrounds us at all times, parentheses, the LUC, or loving universal consciousness, are the keys to rescuing ourselves, capital S, and our planet. Let's not throw our hands up in the air anymore. We are fully capable of affecting all there is. There are no more knowing entities in the universe than we are. We are all one in the same knowingness. The entities that welcomed us were simply vibrating their intentions in different consciousness dimensions. Oh, this is a, sorry, I didn't read the whole thing when I decided to quote this, but I had been talking about entities that were from other realms in a previous page. So we can come back to that another time. We too are capable of both receiving and of emanating throughout the universe when we set forth our loving intentions. It's the power of love. To cherish our physical presence while realizing we are not the physical is to know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. As we free ourselves from illusions, judgments, and attachments, we are opening and becoming vessels of divine love, all one forever beings. Let's take back our power and save our grand creation. Heaven on earth awaits us. I had earmarked the portion of this book that talks about the All One Era sacred fire, which is our fire right here. In ceremony around the sacred fire, where the presence, capital P, of all my relations is honored and celebrated, the First Nations people call upon the grandmothers and grandfathers for guidance. The indigenous peoples have lived in harmony with the land for eons and are the natural stewards of the planet, of the earth. A treasured example is the legacy of the mighty Blackfoot Nation, whose vast territory stretched from the entirety of the province of Alberta and included many parts of British Columbia and Manitoba and the United States, and Montana. They had a sacred tradition of constantly being on the move so that they would never scar the earth with their settlements. They and all the Aboriginal peoples, which, if we go back far enough, is all of us, were and are to this day a people deeply connected with the cosmos. Our deep-rooted tribal love for the earth is awakened. If not now, when shall we burst out with all our powerful love? The sacred fire can be built in the center of a portable light beam pyramid. This is another thing that was in the book that I didn't read first, but we had rented some light beams and made a beautiful pyramid just out of the light. And the fire in the middle, the smoke enabled us to see the beams, and it was magnificent. It can be established in a pit house or kakuli, which is here. The reverence for the presence of the grandmothers and grandfathers on the other side to come through is all that is required. And there's a picture of First Nations artist Alex Janvier. I don't know if you can see it, but his wonderful face. He came to the kakuli with me, and we did some ceremony around the fire and spoke with the talking sticks, and he was just enthralled with the way we did things, and he asked for a copy of the book and read it, and now he's become very, very close to me. His entire nation, the Dene Nation, which was one of the largest nations in the world, was usurped from him. His dad was the tribal chief, and the residential schools ripped it out of his hands, basically, and sent all of his children and all of his nation to schools to tear them away from their traditions and their families. This is a tragedy that we've had here in this country, and it's unfortunately been a tragedy that's happened all over the world in different places, in Australia, of course, the United States, and many places where we haven't honored our First Nations peoples, our ancestors, and our ancient civilizations. And that's my particular calling, if you will, is ancient civilizations, because, as I said before, we're all one forever beings, and in many ways there is no time per se. We are the ancient nations. We are the ancient people in bodies today. Again, this could be a heady discussion. I don't want to go into that, but I just want to say that there are wonderful things coming out today that we can behold, if you will. And I think that are an opportunity for us to dance in bare feet around the fire, to sing, to drum, to meditate, to be more with our children, to be more in our childlike self, our little boy, little girl self, so to speak, and not be so serious. Life is not about seriousness. It's about having fun and enjoying what we have and who we are. We are grand beings, very grand beings, and we know and have the knowingness to know a whole lot more than we give ourselves credit for. I feel that there'll be a planet-wide ascension, and it'll start in this new era, which has already started, officially December 21st, 2012. And this is why Summerhill and All One Era celebrates our full and new moons and our solstices and equinoxes. They are in harmony with the earth. They are in harmony with the rhythm, with the field, with all we are, the all one. Better say all one. The law of one, that's a whole new subject. The law of one is the most prophesized in all of the teachings, the ancient teachings, that the law of one will someday come into play here. And this could be the time. We are 8 billion of us on this planet, and we have done a horrific job of taking care of our home. We should be ashamed of ourselves, really. 30-mile nets of death in our oceans. I won't go into it. It's horrific. If we could see the bottoms of our oceans, I would just vomit from what we're doing with our oceans alone, not to mention the land, the chemicals, and the cancers. I scream about organic, and I scream about local. I don't want to get on a roll, but it's time for us to go within. It's time to take back our power, to be one with the earth and one with ourselves and one with the animals and the plants. This is so beautifully important, and especially at this time of the longest day of the year. We can either make it the most joyous time that we have, or we can fret that we're going to have to commit suicide because, well, we no longer have enough money to pay our car payment or some damn thing. Come on, guys, let's get it together. I don't want to keep on going with this. I just want to thank you all, my great gratitude for being able to speak to you and have you as loyal fans of coming to our little gatherings. Thank you so much. The gatherings, I think, have a potential to have mutual intentions, and intentions are everything. There's these powerful intentions that we sing and scream and chant, they work. They really do. And when we do them in concert, they are super powerful. So I'll leave you with that. And I thank you again for coming out.